The next biggest winner is brought to you in part by... Welcome back to the next biggest winner. This is our third and final episode from Vancouver at the World Resource Investment Conference. In this segment, we're going to be speaking to top-level management from 3 different companies: Big North Graphite, CSIGO Resources, and Forum Uranium. Now, Big North Graphite is a graphite company that's differentiated themselves from everybody else because they're looking to fast-track a mine into production. With us today is Spiros Kletas of Big North. Spiro, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, George.
All right, so unlike everybody else, or most people in this industry, you're bucking the trend, you haven't even got a feasibility study, and you're fast-tracking a mine into potential production. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Big North Graphite acquired 3 past-producing amorphous graphite mines in Sonora, Mexico. It's correct, we have a 43-101 technical report that was recently released. We don't have a pre-feasibility study. Historically, there is a higher risk for proceeding to production without a pre-feasibility study or feasibility study, but the cost to the company, the amount of capital that we need to get going is, in the grand scheme of things, actually quite small. And our goal is to create a business for our shareholders. So we've, recently announced that we've completed a couple rounds of the restart of the mine, and we recently just announced that we've started test mining as per the 43-101 technical report. That was a suggestion in there.
And that's an important part of your strategy because this is a past-producing mine.
Yeah.
And that gives you a lot of data. It removes a lot of risk for you and your shareholders?
Well, the mine produced up to about 2002. Really, where that helps us out significantly is that there's all the infrastructure is already in place. So what we did is we cleaned up the access road that leads in and out of the old mine. We've reinforced the mine for safety. We recently added ventilation and electrical systems for lighting. We've added a winch, et cetera, et cetera. We applied for and received permits to use dynamite at the site. So really, we're picking up where things were shut down, reinforcing it to try to operate under Canadian standards. It was run privately previously.
Right.
And our goal, as I mentioned earlier, is to supply graphite to the market as soon as possible. I mean, in the graphite space, it's not like gold or silver where there's always a buyer, or you just sell it to the refiner or whatever the case. In graphite, you have to have a buyer for your product, or else you're stuck with
a real consumer at the end of the day. Someone's actually going to buy your stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, though, so you're going to need buyers for your graphite. Mm-hmm. But as part of your business plan, your company is actually buying graphite. So how does that work? Where you're looking for buyers, but you're buying graphite? How does that fit into your business plan?
Well, there's a couple of small sort of mom and pop, I would say, operators around there that produce amorphous graphite that don't have processing capability. So as part of our business plan, our strategy to move forward, on the one side is the restart of the Nuevo San Pedro project, and on the other side, we want to buy unprocessed amorphous graphite from local producers, process that, and sell it to the buyers that we set up, that we find to place the product, and capture the difference between the price of the unprocessed amorphous product and the final product.
So is it safe to say that you at Big North Graphite are going to be one of the first, or at least in this cycle here, mm-hmm. one of the first to actually start producing graphite again? Well,
it's definitely our goal. Our goal is to sell graphite to the market as soon as possible and create a successful business for our shareholders as soon as possible. We're definitely working on that. We spent the last 6 months now getting the Nuevo San Pedro project in Sonora ready for this phase right now. We're test mining right now. And yeah, our goal is to be one of the first to supply product to the market. Ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, if you don't have a buyer, you're sort of stuck. So our goal to be successful is to be one of the first out of the gate.
Less competition because you're one of the only guys providing. All right, well, let's hear what Alan Berry has to say at the end of the show. But Spiros, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Our next company's 100% owned flagship gold property in Colombia has already shown excellent potential, over a 20-kilometer strike length, and the company raised financing in an otherwise very difficult environment for exploration companies. With us today, Magnus Haglund of CSIGO Resources. Magnus, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your flagship property in Colombia and the potential it's already shown over 20-kilometer strike length.
Well, CSIGO, our company, focuses in an area called the Tarara Gold Belt, which straddles the border between southeastern Colombia and northwestern Brazil. Now, This is an area that we had identified quite a few years ago as an area with extensive gold potential. Now, we've been active in Colombia, the founders of our company, for more than 15 years. And the Machado project, which you described, certainly has shown large strike lengths, high gold grades over the entire property almost, especially a 5-kilometer area at the center of our property where we have a very, very big anomaly. The property has got more than 130 historic gold recovery operations. These range, of course, from surface workings, but there's also tunnels and even an open pit at the center of our property. And these recovery operations, they found large, high grades of gold. For example, the open pit reportedly had a grade of 83 grams per ton back in the mid-90s.
Now, do you ever get concerned? So that's a good thing, but do you ever concerned by the fact that you have such a long strike length and so many potential targets there? How do you limit them in order to use your cash effectively and be able to really target the best ones?
That's a question that we often get, and I could tell you that it gets even worse because over the past few years we have amassed and compiled a land position of more than 200,000 hectares on both the Colombian and Brazilian side. So basically, we are operating in an area of 80 by 130 kilometers, and that's a huge area. Now, luckily, to answer your question, we know already where we had gold production in the past, so we have areas we can focus in on. That would be an area we call Cerro Rojo on our Machado property on the Colombian side. On the Brazilian side, we also have several past producers, so to speak, that we can zoom in on.
So going back to what our guest analyst said, Alan Berry, at the beginning of the show, you're in that bucket of companies that despite tough times, you're raising money, you're working for your shareholders, and you're actually getting things done, not too concerned about the market environment.
No, well, we have no intention of being in Alan's zombie bucket, I can tell you that.
You're definitely not.
And no, I mean, we have what we have. We think the quality, the technical quality of our projects is high enough that it warrants the work, and we owe the work to our shareholders who have waited patiently for us to reach the drilling stage these past couple of years. So no, we're definitely going ahead, and we're going to launch our first drilling program probably in mid-June. Hopefully, if everything goes well, towards late July, early August, we'll start seeing the first assays out of this area.
2-3 years ago, that would have been par for the course. Everyone's launching a drill program. Everyone's going to announce assays. But here you are in one of the toughest environments, and you're going right to the ground. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that this is the first ever modern systematic exploration program in this area. We believe this area is potentially the largest unexplored gold district in the world. And this is the first ever modern exploration program. So we are excited.
I like what you had to say, and I'm looking forward to hearing how you stand up to Alan's test at the end of the show in the roundtable discussion. Thanks for being here, Magnus.
Pleasure.
If your investment thesis centers around betting on the jockey instead of the horse, then Forum Uranium might be the company for you, because this is a highly experienced team with a track record of successful uranium discoveries in Canada. With me today to talk about the company, Richard Mazur. Richard, welcome to the show.
Okay, thanks for having me.
So you have, as a group, a fantastic track record of success of finding uranium, and now we heard our analyst talk about the Alpha Fission uranium project, and you're right on trend with that. Tell us about that project and why it's so important to the company.
Yeah, we have a very key asset in our Clearwater project, which is not only on trend of the discovery, but right adjacent to the claim boundary of Alpha and Fission. So we have a really good piece of ground. I'm telling you, we're pretty excited about it.
And it's important that you say it's immediately adjacent, because unfortunately sometimes in this industry you'll have people talk about they're 50 miles away from somebody, and they're trying to establish that connection, which I've always thought sometimes is highly tenuous. How important is it, and where are you at right now in terms, with that closeology?
Yeah, well, we've been in this business for 10 years. We started exploring for uranium in the Athabasca Basin in 2004. So we keep an eye on a lot of things. And so we were the first guys. We had what I call the fastest finger in the West. When the discovery was made and the staking rush happened, we were the first guys there. We knew exactly what piece of ground we wanted to get, and we got it. So for this summer, the plan is, in fact, actually today, we should start flying with an airborne geophysical survey to evaluate the ground. And that should take about a week to 10 days. Then we'll do another airborne survey to identify the radioactivity on the property from the air. And then we'll get boots on the ground and start doing the prospecting and find a mine.
Given what's happened with the Alpha Fission project there, have you guys benefited from that in terms of increased attention, maybe even share price appreciation? Have you guys been a beneficiary?
Yeah, absolutely. We just rolled back the stock at the end of 2012, and we're just entering into a coming off of a drill campaign on one of our other projects, which we really, really like as well, in the Athabasca Basin, with some good drill results. And then the Patterson Lake discovery was made, and we announced our land acquisition at that time, and it really helped with the stock price and with the acknowledgement by the investment community that we were onto something, which really helped with our financing. We raised $3 million from January to March.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive in this environment.
Yeah.
Let's talk, before I talk about some of the other projects you've got, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'm sure a lot of people at home would like to hear your thoughts on the future of uranium, because it's had a difficult time over the last couple of years. We all know that. But it seems almost inevitable that uranium is going to be an energy source of the future. Where do you see supply and demand? Where do you see price? And how is that going to benefit Forum Uranium and its shareholders?
The fundamentals of the uranium market have not changed since 2004, when it was recognized that we're in a real supply crunch. The Fukushima accident put a little bit of a damper on that, but the Japanese reactors are and will be coming on stream very shortly, which will pick up on that demand. But I think one of the key aspects behind the uranium industry, and why I'm so bullish on uranium, is that the Russian-U.S. highly enriched uranium agreement will be terminating at the end of 2013, and that's going to take 15% of the uranium supply off the market.
And a lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people don't know that, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that if you take away that much supply, then what's going to happen to the price?
Given the fact you're able to raise $3 million in an otherwise almost impossible market, from what I'm hearing, you've got a fantastic flagship property, and you've got these right behind you. I like what I'm hearing. I think that's great, and I'm really curious to hear what Alan Barry's going to have to say, given the fact that he specifically mentioned the Alpha Fission project at the beginning of the show. So we're going to have you back to the roundtable, and thank you for being here.
Okay, yeah. Look forward to the roundtable.
We'll be right back after this commercial with Alan Barry and all our guests in our roundup discussion. The next biggest winner is brought to you in part by